The NFL draft is almost here, and we will break down every single pick and all the news and rumors and buzz around it on Chat Sports. So if you have not already subscribed, hit that big red button and join us. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. We will break down every single pick during this year's 2021 NFL Draft. One of the biggest unknowns around the NFL is what are the 49ers going to do? They have the number 3 overall pick. They moved up to go get a quarterback. That was made very clear by Kyle Shanahan and by John Lynch, to replace Jimmy Garoppolo. The report was from Ian Rappaport is that the Niners are down to 2 players, either Mac Jones or Trey Lance, with apparently Justin Fields out of the mix. Now, if you kind of read between the lines, it does kind of start to sound like Mac Jones might be the favorite of Kyle Shanahan. And there are some conflicting reports out there in terms of disagreement between the front office and Shanahan about which quarterback to take, that Shanahan allegedly wants Mac Jones, and I think Shanahan said today that when the Niners moved up, they did have somebody in mind. Now they feel better about some other players. Maybe that is Mac Jones there. He does fit the Shanahan offense. He's viewed as the safer player, but I know many Niners fans don't like that idea. And with Justin Fields allegedly out of the conversation, you guys might prefer Trey Lance instead. If you're actually going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo and sit him for a season, Lance makes sense there. He definitely has a higher ceiling than Mac Jones. He's also much more at the risk of being a bust. I think the Niners know their pick, like they should, right? They should have moved up to number 3 and gone, well, we don't know, we'll decide then. That's a bit unusual. Now, as for Lance, at least me, personally, am prepared to risk it all for him. Now, look, the production is awesome. He was also in a better situation relative to the talent around him versus other teams than even Mac Jones was at Alabama. But his athletic ability, his arm strength, I think some of the pre-game week stuff he does is highly advanced. Now, the accuracy can come and go, but if you want some more mobility and some more off-script playmaking out of your quarterback, I would at least strongly consider going after Trey Lance. Mac Jones, meanwhile, the numbers are great. He does remind me of Jimmy Garoppolo, which I do not intend as a dig. If you were a team like, say, I don't know, the Chicago Bears, the Washington football team, anyone in that category, why, yes, I would have interest in Mac Jones. But at number 3, to give up the future, the immediate future of your franchise, that's a lot there. So who would you pick? Make your predictions right now for me down there in the comments section. Type J for you would rather have Mac Jones, or type in L for you would prefer to take Trey Lance. Make your predictions in the comments section, and of course we'll find out who the pick ends up being during this year's NFL Draft. We will have all 7 rounds of coverage starting by 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll hang out and chat a bit before the draft really gets going there. But unlike the loser networks out there, we're not going to disappear after day 1 or even after day 2. We're going to stick around for every single round, every single pick, and we'll grade everyone as well. Break down some undrafted free agents on top of that. So if you want the best NFL draft coverage on YouTube, if you haven't already, hit that big red button and join us here at Chat Sports. That way you guys don't miss out on anything. So get your votes in, or subscribe if you haven't already, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. Go do that today. All 7 rounds of the 2021 NFL Draft will be available right here at Chat Sports. Let's dive into one of the craziest rumors out there, a Julio Jones trade. This is unusual. Multiple reports say that the Falcons are listening to trade offers. Now, this comes from both Peter King and Albert Breer, both dropping Monday morning, which rather unusual. Now, there are some buts involved here, the biggest of which, they can't actually trade him until after June 1st. If they did that, there would be an extra $17 million in dead cap space that goes onto their cap hit beyond what they're already paying him. So you're talking about $40 million you're eating this year. It makes no sense to do it when you're allegedly trying to make your cap look a little bit better. Now, if they wait until after June 1st, they save about $20 million over 2 years. If a team acquires him, well, it's very appealing. About $15.3 million, about $11.5 the next 2 years. Now, I will make note, there is a very high probability that if a team were to trade for Julio Jones, they would then immediately give him a large new contract because that's how things normally work. So it's very team-friendly now. I bet he would ask for a little bit more money. Now, there were 4 teams mentioned in Peter King's article on this side of things. The Las Vegas Raiders as one, the New England Patriots, the Tennessee Titans, and the Baltimore Ravens, which is interesting to me. All 4 teams could use some type of receiver help, whether it be a big one or a smaller one. It does make some sense there. Albert Breer said maybe a second-round pick, or I flipped that over. Albert Breer said a first-round pick. Peter King said a second-rounder. I don't think the Falcons are going to sell Julio Jones on the cheap. That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. But this question is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. Do you think the Falcons will actually trade away Julio Jones later on this offseason? Get your votes in. Type T for they'll trade him, or type K for you'll think they'll keep him. Now, when healthy, there's no doubt about it, Julio Jones has been one of the premier playmakers in the NFL. Now, he missed more time this year, only played in 9 games, a lot relative to his previous injury history. Fantasy owners know this quite well, though. Julio Jones always has something going on. There's always some minor injury that makes him questionable early in the week, and then he plays through it, and then he ends up balling out anyway. The age is a bit of a red flag, but the height, weight, speed prospect is still there. He is still, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best players in the NFL. Now, if the Falcons were to move Julio, I would argue immediately receiver becomes one of their biggest needs. You're probably going to want to pay Calvin Ridley anyway. That's fine. Russell Gage has flashed. I actually kind of like him quite a bit on that front. But the rest of the depth is maybe Zacchaeus, Christian Blake, Greg Dortch. I think Cordero Patterson is actually going to play more of a running back role for this team. Either way, you trade away Julio Jones, whatever asset you're getting back, you're probably going to spend it on another receiver because you have to have better playmakers for Matt Ryan, or even if you draft somebody in round 1 at the quarterback spot. So because of that, I fully expect a significantly high asking price for Julio Jones. Not the DeAndre Hopkins trade. I think they might shoot more for the Stephon Diggs trade. So I might regret asking you guys this, but this is your opportunity. In the comments section, I want you guys to flood it with various Julio Jones trade ideas. I know how many non-Falcons fans want him, so let me know if you're not an Atlanta fan. If you are a Falcons fan, let me know what you would require in exchange back. I think we'll see some pretty big differences between the various fan bases on that one. Some Denver Broncos rumors here, and we're back on this one again. Teddy Bridgewater trade. Not the first time we talked about this one, but there was an update on it from Peter King, who says it would not surprise him if in the event that the Denver Broncos did not draft a quarterback, that they could trade a mid-round pick, not really specified, so let's say a 4th-ish, for Teddy Bridgewater. And this is not the first time we've discussed the idea of a Bridgewater to Denver move. The biggest problem as it relates to Bridgewater getting traded to anybody, Denver included, is his $17 million base salary. You're not going to pay that for a guy who may or may not start for you, given that there's also Drew Lock on the team. That's an expensive price play. That's Mike Glennon money for a starting quarterback right there. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I have been a fan of Teddy Two Gloves since he was at Louisville. I've been somewhat wrong, somewhat right on his actual talent because with the injury did sap, I think, a little bit of it there. He wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination for the Carolina Panthers last year. but he also wasn't good enough. And that is why Carolina went out and gambled on Sam Darnold, hoping, hey, he could be the guy for the Panthers. I think as a low-end starter, high-end backup, Teddy Bridgewater can be that guy. My question is this, though. Does that work for Denver? Because you have Drew Lock, Brett Rippon, and also Jeff Driscoll, and Driscoll's not very good. Bridgewater, at minimum, comes in, and he's the number 2 quarterback on this team. But if you're just going to roll with Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, are you actually in a good enough spot as an organization? Remember, Vic Fangio, meanwhile, if they don't win this year, GM George Paton might want to bring in his own guy at head coach. So there's a lot riding on this for the Denver Broncos. And again, if they don't go quarterback, which I think they might, we'll see. Now, as we sit here looking at Drew Lock, there is some question marks around him in terms of if he can be the guy. I think comparing Drew Lock versus Teddy Bridgewater in 2020, I will be upfront and honest, I thought Teddy Bridgewater was better. Now, Drew Lock is younger. There is, in theory, more upside. I think his arm is better than Teddy Bridgewater. He'd love to go deep downfield. Drew Lock did with varying degrees of success on that front there. But I like Lock, at least the upside of him, from that perspective for Denver. If you want to bring in somebody to push Drew Lock, it could be Teddy Bridgewater. But it simply cannot be Bridgewater at his current base salary. Again, you see that the numbers there for Lock, the numbers compared to Teddy here. I thought Bridgewater was better. Now, Denver had plenty of injuries. I don't want to make some hating on Drew Lock. He could be the guy for Denver. I'm not convinced he's going to be the guy, though, in the end for the Denver Broncos. So, Denver, I don't think, is done making moves at this position, which should surprise nobody. I don't know who starts in week 1. I don't know if it's Lock, if it's someone like Bridgewater, a different unnamed veteran-type quarterback, or if it's a rookie. So make your predictions for me in the comments section. Who do you believe will start for the Denver Broncos at the quarterback position for this upcoming year? Make your guesses right now for me in the comments section. We're talking about a potential Broncos and Miami Dolphins trade right now, and the source of this story actually kind of comes to us from General George Paton, GM George Paton, if you will, of the Denver Broncos. No one got that joke. Oh, well. He said that the team has spoken with the Miami Dolphins, and it wasn't, and he even specified, wasn't words of wisdom, they're competing. Look, I am reading between the lines here, but that sounds like they were talking trade to me. When you're competing like that, that's the way I think about it, at least doing some groundwork for trades there. Paton said that they were not looking to move up, but looking to move down. Miami has 2 first-round picks, 6 and 18. Denver is sitting there at number 9. It's also worth mentioning, by the way, that George Paton worked with the Dolphins GM, that is Chris Grier, previously. Now, the Dolphins have plenty of assets to play with. In this hypothetical, apparent reading between the lines trade talks here, moving up from number 18 to 9 would be fairly expensive for the Miami Dolphins, and we will break down who they could be targeting here in a second. But in terms of you look at the NFL draft trade value chart, just how much it would actually end up costing, this is about what it would be. It would be a first and a second round pick to Denver, 18 and 50 to Miami for number 9. Now, Dolphins, that's a little bit too pricey there. You could do like 36 and get a third round pick back. Maybe that feels a little bit better for you. They're all about equal on the trade chart. Denver does win this one, though, by at least a little bit. So who says no to this potential trade idea? Get your votes in right now. You can type D for the Miami Dolphins, or you can type in B for the Denver Broncos. D as in donkey, B as in boy. Get your votes in there as to who says no. Let's start with who could Miami be trying to go up and get here. Now, part of this depends on who they take at number 6, right? If they take Kyle Pitts 6, well then they're not going to trade up for him. If they take a receiver, maybe Jamar Chase, they're not going to move up for another receiver into the number 9 spot with Denver. Maybe they get weird and take an offensive lineman there. I think those first 4 names probably make the most sense if it is a Kyle Pitts at number 6. But if the Dolphins want to get Pitts and an impact receiver, number 9 makes sense for that. You can get Devonta Smith or maybe Jalen Waddle there. There's been some buzz that team, namely head coach Brian Flores, likes Micah Parsons. Well, getting to 9 would jump the Cowboys and Giants, teams that in theory could go linebacker if the Lions pass on them at number 7. Maybe Penei Sewell slides down and go, yeah, we didn't want him at 6, but if he's fallen, let's go up and get him there. So those are some names I think could make some sense for the Miami Dolphins. As for Denver, I don't quite have a great feel for what path they could be pursuing. In theory, I think they would move down if they don't want a quarterback and or maybe Micah Parsons himself is off the board. Elijah Vera Tucker, Christian Darrisaw if you want to get some more offensive line help. Greg Newsome if they want to move down and take a cornerback. Maybe they get lucky and like J.C. Horn or something slides down there as well. Maybe a different linebacker, Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, Jamin Davis from Kentucky. If they want an edge, Ojulari fits that scheme pretty well. The trade down for Denver only makes sense to me if they are picked over. And I do want to bring up this point as well as it relates to Denver. We're taking the general manager here at his word when he says, oh, we have not tried to move up. First off, even if you did, you'd never admit that because that's blood in the water for other NFL organizations. Dolphins have the number 6 pick. And if they get picked over, or let's say Chase and Pitts are off the board, they could move down to 9 and still probably get an impact receiver from Alabama. So maybe there is at least the possibility, and I wanted to bring it up here, that, hey, you know what? Maybe Denver's not being truthful with their intentions with the number 9 overall pick.